guys, this is Migo. So today we're gonna talk about the new update of the add-on EasyRB Pro. This update is 1.1 and they added some new stuff like RB emitter and the kinematics panels. And we're gonna see what's new in this add-on. So let's start. So the first option in our add-on is fracture. We saw this before in the last video. So it's an option to give you instance access to cell fracture add-on. You need to enable the cell fracture add-on first, and you can select any object and press here, and now you get the instance access to cell fracture add-on, and you can fracture the objects like this, and now you have those fragments, and you can apply a rigid body physics or anything you want to do with them. Okay, so let's move to the other panels. So let's talk about the RB emitter now. We have this empty and we have this object right here. I want to emit some objects from this empty. So basically this RB emitter is similar to a particle system. Uh, if we press emit, if we select the empty and press emit from here and press OK, we will see that we have now a new collection that can put the objects here, and we want to emit this object. So we're gonna put this object inside this new collection. Okay, and make sure your empty and your ground or other stuff in the scene are not inside this collection, because any object inside this collection will be emitted from the emitter. And as you see now, we have some options here in this panel, and we have the size of the emitter, and we have the total count, how much objects we want to emit, and we have the size of those objects, and this emit per frame, how much the emitter will emit in time. So this is will emit every 3 frames. It will emit once. This is the minimum and this is the maximum of the emission per time. So now if we press emit, it will emit 1 or 2 per 3 frames, and this is the start and this is the end of uh, the simulation. So if we select this empty and press emit, now it will give us this grid and it will emit those objects, and those objects already have a rigid body simulation physics. Even this object does not have a physics, this emitter, it will add the rigid body physics to this object, and we can delete this. As you see now, we have a new collection that called emitted objects. We can delete it from here if we want to make some adjustment. Maybe we make the size like 10 meter, and we select the empty again and set emit. Now we have this shape. We can delete again and maybe make the size 3, and let's select and emit again, and we emitted those objects, and maybe we can delete them and move the empty up a little bit and reduce the scale to 1. Let's emit again. Okay, let's increase our timeline. Okay, nice. Let's delete this, and let me show you another options. We have this V. It means added some random velocity to the emitted objects, and let's scale this to 6 meter. If we emit, it will give those objects some velocity. As you see, they will move faster and they will rotate a little bit faster. So this V, it will give those emitted objects some velocity. And we have this SP, what mean it will change the emitter to from grid to sphere. So if we press select this SP and press emit, it will emit from sphere now. As you see, it will emit from all the sphere volume. And if we enable this V, it will add some velocity to those objects. Uh, we can see a really big difference now. We have to crank up the size a little bit so you can see the difference. And if we try to scale this down to 0.5 and press emit, it will give us this effect. Okay, and we can increase the count maybe to 100 and make this emit each frame. This will be a little bit intense, and there is no limit for this count. You can go higher as you want, but it will take more time to calculate. I tried 5,000 and it works. It worked, but it took almost 3 minutes to finish calculating. So if you have a faster PC, it will be faster. But I will advise you just to stay under 500 to be faster. So let's try to emit now. It will take some time and it will emit like this. Okay. And what's cool about this option, we can delete this and can even emit from an moving object. So if I try to animate this empty like this and maybe move it like this, we can emit from it. So we press emit. Now it will emit from this moving object like this. Okay. You can hide this emitter so we see the effect better. Okay, and what we can do, we can stack more emitted. So this is the collection of the emitted objects. We can hide it from here, and we can select this one and maybe change something. Maybe you want to emit 4 or 5 objects each 5 frames, and maybe we want to emit another type of object. Let's say let's add the cube maybe, and delete this keyframe, and we can delete this one because we don't need it right now. We can add the cube again to this collection, and let's select this empty and let's press emit. Now let's see. You can see that we are emitting these cubes now, and if we enable the other collection, now we can see that those objects react to each others because they have the rigid body physics and they can collide with each others. And you can stack a lot of stuff like this. We can emit a Susan, and maybe let's add this cone, and let's remove this one, and let's add those two to this emitter. It works, it can work for multiple objects also. You can add it more than, there is no limit. You can add it up to 100 objects here and it can emit it, all of them. And let's try to emit now. We will see that it will emit the Susan head and the cone, as you see. And maybe we can adjust the size of it. Okay, what's happened? Okay, let's select this. Sometimes this does not work. Okay, we can select, if something happen like this, we can go here in the end of the frame and we have this select option. We can select them all and we can delete them like this. Now we can go back and we can adjust the scale to maybe 3, and let's press emit. Okay, now we see that we have a bigger size of these objects, and we can stack them with the other objects. So, and we can make the steps here to 3 to reduce the calculation. Okay, and as you see, you have this effect right now. We can do a lot of cool stuff with this RB emitter. I will show you some examples later. And I think that's it for the emitter. I forget to say that you can adjust here the start frame and end frame. You can make it maybe 300 frame, or you can make it start from this 5 or second frame. Okay, that's it for the RB emitter. Let's continue. So now let's go to the duplicate panel. I added the new stuff to this panel. So let's add a cube right here, and I added this x plus and x minus and z, and this will basically do it will duplicate in array shape. If we press x here, it will duplicate in this axis, and we can maybe let's make the count to 20, and let's make this to 3 meters. If we press like this, we have this array, and we can go in any axis we want. We go to the negative x and the positive y, negative y, in the z axis, and we can do a lot of stuff with this. And maybe I will show you something cool about this option. We go back to 5, and I can duplicate like this, and without deselect anything, I can go in the minus or uh, y-axis and duplicate like this, and go in the z-axis and duplicate like this, and we have this cube shape. And I can select one of them and maybe go in the z and select this, go in the minus x like this, and select this one and go in the minus z like this. And I can build anything I want with this options, like this, like this. Select anything, and it will be very cool, like a Minecraft. So this is the first tool, and of course we have the grid duplicate. We can duplicate in grid form with one click, and we can duplicate in a cube form with one click, like this. And sometimes it will give us this shape, and this is because our radius is too small for this cube. We can fix this with two options. The first option is to uh, increase the radius to maybe 6 meter, and let's try again. And yep, this is will fix it. And the second option is to uh, select everything. We have this option select by name. We can select everything, and we have a new option here that called update the scale. And if we press update the scale, it will update the scale, and this is will scale them with 0.5 uh, factor, and this is basically will scale them in half size. And we can select them, and if I want them to be maybe, let's select and update the scale, and they will be bigger in the size like this. You can keep update the scale like this. Okay, so this is will control the scale, and this is will control the factor, how much I want them to scale. Maybe I want to scale only those ones. I can update the scale like this. So this is very cool features to have, like this. Update the scale, and we have this cool shape. Okay, and we have also the same operation for the, maybe let's go 60 with a radius of 6, and we can duplicate in shape of sphere like this. Okay, and uh, we have, as we said, this operation to select by name. If we have maybe another objects right here, and let's duplicate, and we have other objects here, and let's say duplicate. And if I want to select only the cubes, I can select this and press select by name, and it will select only the cubes. And I can do this to the monkeys or the cylinder like this. Okay. And we have select by verts, and this is will actually select any object that have similar verts. So maybe I change this, let's select all by name and move them to a new collection. call. Okay, now let's select this monkey and change its name to maybe just RR like this. And if we select this one and set and say select by name, it will select only the object that have similar name. And we can't select this object because we change its name. But if we select this object and I say select by verts, it will select all the objects, even this object that have another name or not similar name. Okay, so this is very cool object, and of course we have this option. We saw it before to randomize the position or the rotation of those objects, and we can even randomize the scale like this. Okay, we saw this before, and I will just move quick. And we have the invert selection. It's basically a normal invert selection, and we have new two option. For height, and we have this hide SE, it means hide selected, and show SE. They work together. Let me show you. So if you want to hide something in Blender, what you basically do is just select something and uh, press H, and this will hide it. And if you want to unhide it, you press Alt H, and that's basically will unhide it. But this option works differently. So if you select these objects and say hide SE, and if you want to unhide them and press Alt H, they will not unhide because it works differently. So the only option that we can do to unhide them is show SE, and this will show them. And if we hide them with H, maybe we try to hide those with H, and we try to press hide and see, we can't see them. But this option show hidden will show the object that we hide with the letter H. And we have this option to unhide everything. So if we hide this with hide SE, and if we hide those with uh, H, and if I press here to show hidden, it show only the object that we hide with H, and it will not show the object that we hide with this hide SE option. And if I hide them again, and if I want to show all the object that I hide with this option and the H, I can show all and press show all here, and will show everything that we hide it in any type of hide operation. Okay, and we have also here remove doubles. This way basically will remove dub, uh, any double objects that share the same position or the same coordinate. Now I have two cubes in the same position as you see right here. If I press here remove doubles, it will remove one of them and leave the other. And we have decimate. This basically will apply a decimate modifier. Uh, so let's add it. Sub the modifier to this, and let's see the wireframe. Now if we want to decimate this object, we can just press here, and this will apply a decimate modifier with 0.5 ratio. And if we press again, it will decimate again, and we can go like this and decimate again. And this is a very cool option. We need it in when we deal with rigid body physics with higher poly count. And we have an option that called the ground. If we press here, it will add it a ground or a plane that have a rigid body physics, and it's set to passive rigid body. So when you try to make something, it will be very cool to have this option to add a ground very fast and add maybe some cubes like this, and go here, add it RB, select everything, add RB, and now we can play the simulation very fast like this. Okay, so that's it for the duplicate panel. Now let's move to the RB panel, which is a rigid body panel. So if we try to make maybe spheres like here, let's duplicate them. And let's move them up a little bit. And we can press here, and we have this option that I added here in the RB, and this is basically is the select by name and select by verts, and we have this ground right here. So if we add a ground, press here, we can add a ground, and if we select one of them and press here, it will select all of them by name, and we can apply we can add a rigid body active to them like this. And if we play the simulation, you will see they will collide with each others, and they will simulate like this. And let me reduce just the steps to work faster. Okay, so and we have we can make if we select some of them like this, we can make them rigid body passive. They will not move and they will not simulate, and this will work with one click. If we want to change them, we can just press set rigid body active, and let's restart the simulation again, and they will simulate like this. And we have this option that will select only the object that have a rigid body active. If we press it, it will select only uh, these spheres, and it will not select this ground because the ground has a passive rigid body and those objects have a active rigid body. And we have a gravity option. If we disable it, they will not fall, and if we enable it, they will fall because the gravity now works. And we have this object mass. This is the weight of the object, and we can if we select them all, and we can press alt and move this slider, and maybe let's make them 20 kilogram. And if we see each piece weight 20 kilogram. Okay, now we have also the gravity power or the gravity value. We can change it as we want, and I just will leave it in the default value like this. And we have this animated option, and if I want to animate this one, I set it animated. It will not simulate now. All of those objects will simulate, and if I want to animate it, I can make it like this and maybe go like this. Now it will collide with those objects and stay animated like this. Okay, and let's remove it. Okay, and we have the type of the collision for those objects. We can set those to we can press alt to set them all to spheres, and this is will speed the simulation a lot. If you have maybe a cubes or spheres, you can select those instead of this convoxel, and it will run very fast if you have multiple or a lot of objects. And we have this option for the friction and the bounciness. We can press alt to change the value for all the objects, and you can only if you want to change only one object, you can select it and change it like this. And the second option that I added, it's a new option. It's called freeze or and freeze. And what's basically do, apply the scale, and let's if we play the simulation now, you will see those spheres will drop like this. And what we can do, we can select them all like this and press freeze. Now they will not move only if this sphere hit them. So let's animate this sphere like this, and let's play the simulation now. And you notice nothing happened because this sphere does not have any rigid body. So let's make it rigid body active. Now if this sphere hits those objects, they will react to it. And we forgot to set this to animated. Now you will see that those objects will not move until something hits them. So that's the freeze option. And if I want to unfreeze them, I can select them and press unfreeze, and they will drop like this from the start. Okay, so freeze, they will not move, unfreeze, they will move. Okay, so and we have this option to remove all the rigid body from the scene. If we press it, it will remove everything from the rigid body simulation. So that's it for the RB tab, and let's move on. So now let's talk about the kinematics. Uh, if we added a rigid body to these objects, and if we play the simulation, you will see they will fall like this due to the gravity. But if we press set or add kinematics, now you will see that those objects now have animated state on, and you will see that each object from them have a keyframe in the first frame for the kinematics animated. And if I want them to drop maybe on the frame 20, I can press here set kinematics, and now they will drop like this. And I can clear this from here, clear kinematics, and I can do it to multiple objects. Maybe I want them to drop in frame 40. I can set kinematics right here, and all of those objects will drop in the frame 40 like this. And I can clear kinematics, and this is will delete any keyframes for this animated state. And let's add the kinematics back. Okay, now let's talk about the effector. So we have an empty right here, and as you see it will move from left to right like this. And if we reset this to 1.5 meter and press set effector right here, you will see that this effector or this empty will affect those objects, and it will make them drop, and it will leave the other objects and don't affect them. And if we maybe clear the kinematics and maybe change the speed of this, you will see it will be dynamically, and it will affect them based on the position or the range of this empty. And if we clear the kinematics again and set this maybe to 6 meters and press set effector again, you will see that it will affect those objects too, like this. And we have a problem, as you see right here. This object will keep dropping before this empty hits it, and this problem is because our frame, our timeline is too short for it to calculate. So let's give it maybe uh, 160. And the second problem is if you see our empty will stop right here, and if we see right here is the range of 6 meter, this object is still in the range here. So when the timeline reset, it will still affect it from there. So we have two options. The first option is to clear the kinematics from this, and this will calculate again from the start. And the second option is to move the empty from here, maybe just to make it don't affect this range. So let's see again. Now, now it will work perfectly without any problems. Okay, even if we maybe set this to maybe 11 meters or 12 meters, and let's see, we see that it will affect all of those objects. Let's clear the kinematics again, and you will see it will affect all of those objects. And what's cool about this, we can set it back to 1.5 meters, and we can add multiple effector. Maybe let's add another empty right here like this, and let's scale it up a little bit, and let's move it. What's happened? Okay, let's add this empty here, and let's move it up like this. Okay, now if we play the simulation, let's clear the simulation, and let's if set this effector. Now if we play the simulation, we will see that only one empty will affect those objects. If we want those two empties to affect this object, we can select we can select both empties and set them as effector. We need to select them both and press set effector. Now you will see that will affect these two lines of those objects like this. Okay, and we can keep selecting both, and we can clear the kinematics and maybe increase the size to 5 or 6 meters, and press set effector again, and you will see it will affect uh, more spheres based on the range and the object. And as you see, we have the same problem right here. This object will simulate because our this empty will affect it because it's still in the range right here. So we can just clear the kinematics and simulate again, or we can move this up right here before the timeline end, and it will now when the timeline reset, it will works fine without any problems. Okay, this is the effectors, and we can we can add it, this force. Or firstly, we didn't talk about this lock animated, and maybe we can add something right here. Let's delete these two and clear the kinematics, and we can add it something, maybe cube right here. Scale it like this, and I want it. I want this to rotate like this. Okay, okay, this is good. Now I want to add it a new empty like this. Okay, and we need this empty to move up like this. Okay, okay, cool. Now we need this to be an effector. Okay, so let's set this empty to an effector, and let's see now. Okay, it's working. Now we need this to collide with this object, so we need it to be a rigid body active. And if we play the simulation, this will drop, as you see, because we need to set it animated. Okay, now it will not drop in the first time, but if we press clear kinematics, it will drop because the effector will affect it also. Okay, so let's clear the kinematics. Let's set the effector again. Now you will see it will drop like this because the effector will affect it as those objects. So what's the solution here? We want it to stay in this position. Maybe someone will say, let's make it a rigid body passive, but this is will not collide with those objects as intent or as we need it. So let's make it back to rigid body active. And the solution here is this option that called locked animated. And let's clear the kinematics. And we can press locked animated, and this will lock this object, and that means this the empty will not affect these objects, and it will not remove the animated state from it, and it will work as we need it like this, and it will collide with those objects. And if we want to remove this lock, we have this option here to remove lock, and the effector will affect it again, and it will drop. If we want this to lock again, we can lock that, clear the kinematics, and will work as we wanted. Okay, that's the lock. This is so we can make some objects, some rigid body object don't react to this effector. Okay, cool. Now we have this force option. So basically, this will add a force wind for the empty or the selected objects. We can select any object in the scene and add a force to it. Okay, so maybe you added it to this empty, and we have this option right here to or this menu to change the type of the force from wind to any other forces, and we have also the rotation, the strength, all those options uh, for the force. We can rotate this maybe in the y-axis uh, with 9, maybe like this. and this will affect the objects. Let's clear the kinematics. We can maybe set the strength to higher value like 900, and this is, we'll see if we clear the kinematics, will affect the objects and make them go up with the wind. This is, we can do very cool stuff with this option. I will show you later some examples for this force use, and we can, if we want to select any forces in the scene, we can select this and it will select all the forces in the scene. We can move it, of course, and yep. And this is also works for multiple object. If I want to add forces to all those objects, we can select them and add forces, and this is will add forces to all those objects, and we can select them all, and we can press Alt and change the rotation of all those forces like this. Okay. Okay, this is guys now. Okay, I think we finished our kinematics panel. We have only one option left that called remove kinematics. This will remove all the kinematics from the scene. Okay, now if we go back, you will see that every kinematics in the scene are removed, only this locked one. This locked one will not remove because we need to unlock it first and then press unlocked. Now it will react to the simulation as we see. Okay, that's all for the kinematics, and we're gonna see some examples later. And yep, let's move on. Okay, now let's talk about the constraint. We have this UV sphere that we fractures to pieces and added the rigid body physics to these pieces. And if we play the simulation, you will see they will break like this. We can select them by name like this, and we can press connect. This will add a chain of constraint between them, and if we play the simulation, you will see they will stick together like this. Okay, we can select all of those like this and remove the connection, and we have other options right here. This V1, it will connect each two or three pieces to each others, and it will make the effect like this. Okay, so we have some pieces right here that connect to each other, and what's cool about this option is if we select something right here, we have this small arrow right here, and if we press it, it will give us, it will select all the pieces that are connecting to this piece. And if we select maybe a random piece right here, and I want to see what's object that are connected to this piece, I can just press to this, I can just press this small arrow, and it will select all the pieces that are connected to this one. And this big arrow will select all the pieces that have a constraint or that have any connection. And let me show you, if I added an object here, this object that does not have any constraint, and if we select this arrow, it will select only the object that have constraint, and this small arrow will select the objects that are connected together. Okay, and we have other options. Let's remove the connections. We have this V2, it will add the random constraint. Select it, remove the constraint, and let's select again. And we have this V3. So this is the new option. V3 is will added a constraint based on this number. So if we put this number to 1, it will connect all the pieces together. So if we press here V3, it will add 100% constraint to all of those objects. But if we select them again and remove this, if we add this to maybe 0.5, and if we select them again and press V3, this will add uh, a 50% of constraint. So it will connect 50% of those objects. And if we select them again and remove the connection and set this to 0, select again press V3, will not add any constraint. So the best value I think is 0.6. So this will add a 60% of uh, constraint for these objects. And what's cool about this, we can stack the effect. So let's select all of those, remove the constraint. Let's select this and add a V1. And let's see what V1 looks like. It looks like this, okay. And we can select this and put maybe 0.5 constraint and uh, press V3 right here. And this is will added some cool effect. Maybe let's go with the smaller number. Let's play again. Okay, let's go with the number of 0.3 maybe like this and press V3. Okay, this will add very cool effect like this. Okay, and we can even, if we want to remove this object, we can select them and press remove constraint, and will give us this effect. Okay, so we have all the controls to make cool stuff with this constraint, and we have the option to make them breakable. So now they will not break even if we uh, drop them from higher altitude, they will not break. So if we set breakable, now they will break. We need first to select them and let's update the threshold to maybe just 2, the threshold, and press update. Now you will see they will break like this. And if we want them to not break, we can set them to solid and they will not break. They will stay together like this. Okay. And we have this collision on and off. This basically will, if we press collision on, this will activate the collision between the pieces connected. So it will make the simulation more realistic, but it will, if you have a lot of constraint, this will make some time to calculate. So basically, if we press it off, this will disable the collision between the pieces that are connected together, and this will reduce the simulation time, but the result will be not accurate or not realistic. So make sure to make it on to make the simulation looks better. Okay, so that's it for the constraint tab. Let's move on. So now let's talk about the bake panel. In this bake panel, we have the bake option, the start keyframe, the end keyframe, and we have delete bake, bake to keyframe, reset the simulation, parent to empty, and clear parent, and we have the sub steps and solver iteration, and those are our old options from the last version. And this is I added in this version. I added this speed simulation to control the speed of the simulation. So now is the speed of 1. If we decrease the speed to maybe like 0.1, you will see that the simulation now is almost in slow motion like this. And if we increase the speed to maybe like 2, you will see that the speed will be like this, very fast. Let's reset this to 1. And as you see, we have the option to bake this simulation. Maybe I want to bake just 80 keyframe or 80 frame. You can select bake, and will bake the simulation. You can delete the bake from here, and we can bake to keyframes. Maybe I want this object, I want those objects to bake to keyframes instead of simulation. We can bake them like this. This will take some time to bake. Okay, now if we see, all of those objects are baked into keyframes. They are not rigid body anymore. We can offset those keyframes like this. Okay, and like this. We can also do something cool with them. We can press S -1, and this is actually will reverse the simulation, they will move like this. Okay, okay. So we reversed the simulation like this. Very cool effect. We can do this. We can maybe just bake those again to keyframes. And we can do the same thing. Press S -1 and we can move them like this. And now we have a reversed simulation like this. Okay, and we have parent to an empty. We can select those objects, maybe those ones, and we can parent them to an empty and scale the empty up, and we can move them to any place we want like this. We can rotate them or this like this. Okay, so that's it for the bake tab. We can also reset the simulation if something weird happens. And this is where reapply the simulation. This is where reset the simulation and reapply all the rigid body physics. So sometimes if you have a lot of rigid body physics in the scene and you press reset the simulation, it will take time to remove remove all the rigid body and it will reapply them again. So if you have a lot of rigid body physics, this will take some time to apply. So be careful using that. Okay, so let's move on to the switch. So basically, I didn't change anything about the switch. I explained it in the last video about this add-on, and let me explain it one more. So you can switch between the visibility of this object and those pieces by setting the frame right here, and maybe let's see, let's add a rigid body active to those objects, and they will drop like this. Okay, let me set this object in the same position of them. Okay, and uh, we can first let's remove the rigid body physics from those objects and added it only to this sphere. And if we play the simulation right now, you can see it like this. And we can bake this to keyframes. Okay, let's see now. So this object will drop uh, in the 50 like this. Okay, so we want the switch to happen here in the 50 frame, and let's add a rigid body to these objects or those pieces, and let's play the simulation now. Okay, now I want to select uh, let's select all of those pieces from here, and we need this sphere to be the active objects. Okay, so let's select it. Now this sphere is the active objects, and let's go to the frame 50 and see, we want this switch to happen right here. So let's type 50 here, 50 frame, and let's press switch visibility. Now you will see that the sphere here is the only thing that we can see. And if we play the simulation, you will see that the sphere will be invisible here in the frame 50, and the pieces will be visible. And this is how we can make this effect happen. And if we uh, see it from this, it will break like this. Okay, and of course we can remove the switch from here, and we can select all of those and remove the switch, and we can make it maybe from another frame if we want. Okay, so that's it for the switch. So that's it, guys, for our add-on. In the next videos I will show you some examples how I made these cool animations or those cool projects. I did them just to test the add-on. There is a lot of ideas that you can do with these add-ons. And yep, that's it. I hope you liked the video. Thank you for watching and see you in the next videos.